Raise your hand if you are sick of wasting your time in meetings. Odds are you are going from Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting or running from conference room to conference room just to fit them all in. And you barely have time to get a drink of water or use the bathroom, let alone actually get the work done from those meetings. If you're anything like me, I know that in an 8-hour day, I would try to squeeze in 12 to 15 meetings with different people. And most of those meetings were around things like sharing my knowledge. I was trying to impart the wisdom that was in my brain to everyone who was in the meeting. Or I was trying to come up with more efficient or more exciting ways that we could get people to be motivated to work and increase their output. Or we were sitting in these meetings trying to develop the skills, our skills or their skills on the team, so that they would have improved abilities either to do the job they were currently doing even better, or so that they could move on into a bigger role in something that they wanted to develop into in the future. Now, the average across all the industries throughout the entire country is that leaders, supervisors, managers, even directors are spending about 12 hours a week meeting with their teams, meaning that they are spending all kinds of time doing just those three things I said: imparting their knowledge, trying to increase output in some way, shape, or form, or trying to develop the skills and the abilities of their team. And I know you because I talk to you guys. I know that you wish you could do that more effectively. It's not that you want to avoid the meeting. You're not the people who are saying this meeting could have been an email, right? But you might be hearing that from your staff because you're putting them in meetings where you are trying to give them just a piece of your brain, right? You are trying to help them to understand where you are coming from, how you think about things, how you make decisions, so that they will be able to take on these delegated tasks, so that they will be able to have the autonomy in their work that is going to give them the output that you want them to have. And you have tried all of the tips and tricks. You've listened to the podcast, you've watched the videos, you have read the books on how to communicate effectively so that you can delegate to them, you can develop them into the people that they want to be. And honestly, at this point, you're feeling like you have run out of ways to get there. Well, I have good news for you, my friend, because there is another way. There is something that you can do that isn't more meetings, that isn't you layering on more communication, that isn't reiterating what you said in the meeting in an email. There is something more that you can do. Now, you are actually advanced. And that is why I'm confident in saying that there is something more that you can offer in this circumstance because you know what you want. Lots of people, your average supervisor manager, right? Those Karens of the world, if you've seen the short videos, they are relying on just knowing that there's a problem and expecting people around them to fix it. They are relying on these external forces to just come in and make things right, right? They know that their team doesn't understand where they're coming from. They know that their team isn't the people who are getting promoted. They aren't the people who are developing their skills. And they're not sure why it doesn't work, but they just know it doesn't work. But that isn't you, right? That is not you. You are the person who has invested in your own development to make you the better leader. You are the person who knows that you want people to think like you think, to solution the way you solution. And what's tripping you up is how to get them to think in that way, is how to get them to use that same thought process. Because most people just know it's broken. Most people don't actually know what it is that they want to create. So that is why I say that you are advanced and you are to the point that you will be able to fix it because you've tried already. You've tried to improve your communication, and it usually looks something like this, right? I'm going to improve my communication by being more clear. So I'm going to give them more details. I'm going to make sure that I'm not expecting people to read my mind. I'm not expecting people to just know what I know. I'm going to tell them everything that I expect of them. If I tell them that I want a presentation ready, I'm not just going to say a presentation. I'm going to tell them that I want it to be a 5-slide deck, right? And in that deck, I want there to be this image and this graph, and I'm going to be so specific and so clear that they can't miss it. And then the next time they'll know that that's what I expect. And I can even let them know that the way I had them create it this time is the template that they should use going forward. And if I just keep telling them everything that I think, then eventually it'll work. Which means what? You're just going to talk more. Now, what I want to challenge you to do is to actually speak less. Because think about this. If you have a team of 5 direct reports, let's say that's a pretty conservative estimate, right? If you have as a leader have 5 direct reports on your team and you spend an hour with each of them in their one-on-ones every single month, and then you spend another hour with them as a team every single week, you are spending several hours a month just working with them on different aspects of what you want from them, both as a team and individually. And then you might be layering on additional meetings to talk about specific projects or specific requests that you have for them that fall outside of those team meetings and those one on one meetings. You might be spending 20 hours a month just in meetings with your team, where you are constantly talking at them and telling them what you want to see. Now, I just had an illustration of this actually earlier today. I was working with a class where I stood up in front of everybody and we were doing an exercise where I was the senior leader. And so I had just my directors in the room with me, and I talked at them for a few minutes. And I talked at them the way a CEO does, with just the vision and the directive, not a lot of details, just the main highlights. They asked me questions, I continued to talk at them. When they felt like they had all the details they needed, they went and talked at their supervisors. And when their supervisors had all of the details they needed, they summarized everything in an email to the staff. Now, when I, as the CEO, went and read what the staff was able to put together, after all of that talking at people, after all of that detail was pushed through, what do you think I got? Do you think that that amount of clarity, those questions, those answers, all of that talking, do you think that I got the simple answer that I wanted? No, because simply just layering on more information and more information does not create clarity. What creates clarity is a clear vision. You create clarity when you keep the main thing the main thing. When you tell someone what the ultimate goal is, what you are working toward, and you point everything back to that main point. Now, in my example, when I was working with that class today, my main thing was that I wanted a house plan. Now, we got off on a tangent and I answered all of the questions that they asked me, and I went down all the little wormholes that they tried to go down. And that was to prove a point of where that can take you. But when you, as the leader, can crystallize the main thing, for me, the house plan, you can let all of the rest of that stuff fall by the wayside. At one point, we got to a section where everyone was concerned about whether or not the land we had purchased to build the house on had a cattail swamp in it. In this fictitious hypothetical example that had nothing to do with the house plan, we spent 5 minutes talking about a cattail swamp. You have your own cattail swamps going on in your business and within your team because you aren't refocusing the team on the main thing. You're going with them and you're talking to them about these random details that are not the priority. Now, I want you to talk to them about the main thing. But as you can imagine, when you start with that main thing, There's not a lot for you to add. It's pretty clear. It's pretty simple. It's one house plan. Now, what else do you do? Well, hint, you stop talking. You don't talk. You let them ask the questions. You let them go down the road of where their mind's taking them. Let them take ownership over that meeting. Those team meetings, those one on ones, friend, those are not yours. Those are theirs to go in their direction. When you focus them on that one top priority, then trust them to take that conversation and redirect them to the main point when they get stuck on their cattails. Now, when you want to go into details, when you know that, oh, they're not picking up on what I need them to do, you're going to redirect them, but then I want you to ask questions. The best question you can ask them, the thing that is going to be the most helpful, is how does that accomplish this goal? So, again, in our example, when we're talking about a house plan and they're going off on all the tangents of the permits and the attached garages and all of those things, how many people live in the house, right? If you can redirect them and say, I can answer that question, but I would love to understand how that helps us get back to this house plan. And they might have an answer. They might say, well, I need to know how many children are in this family so that I know how many bedrooms to include in the house plan. Okay, fair, justified. And you can go down that route then. But when they are asking questions about cattails and permits, and if it's a one or a two or a three-car garage, and you say, how does that get us back to this overall house plan? It can cause them to say, oh, yeah, I don't want to think like this. I'm not trying to think like I naturally think about this. I'm trying to think like my leader. I am trying to prioritize the things that my leader is saying is important right now. Now, I want you to keep the main thing the main thing. I want you to stop talking as much as possible and allow them to speak. And then I want you to ask questions when you do talk so that you can redirect them to the main thing. How do you do this? Because there is no sitting on your hands when it comes to communicating with people, except that there kind of is. If you are in a Zoom circumstance, right? If you are working virtually with people, the mute button really is your friend. Leave yourself on mute so that you physically have to move your mouse, click the button to be able to speak at all. It will force you to add in the pause that you need to add. If you are in an in person setting and you aren't talking on Zoom, then I want you to, again, create that pause for yourself. And you can do that by writing down what you want to say before you say it. That'll do two things. One, it will naturally create that pause, right? But second, it allows you to think through how you want to respond. Because remember, one of the challenges is that you are going to ask questions. So if what you write down is, this isn't a swamp, right? We've purchased useful land. I'm not that dumb. But you can rephrase it in the way of, I do you really think that we would have, if we knew we were building a house, we would have purchased lands with cattails on them? You can kind of pose it back so that they can think through things a little bit differently. Now, next, I want you to understand what the benefit of this is. Because, yes, it is going to change your timeline, completely transform the amount of time that you are spending in meetings, both because you are spending less time talking, right? So the meeting itself won't take as long, but also you're spending less time preparing because you don't need to think through every single thing that you're going to say. I want you to click the link down below to go over to the blog to learn more about just the math of it all and how much time that this could save you. But even more than that, even more valuable than the time you are going to save doing this practice you are going to feel more focused, right? Because you are constantly talking about the main thing, whatever that priority, goal, objective is, you are constantly pointing back to it. And so when you feel more clear, you will help your team feel more clear. And you are transforming their brain. You are rewiring their brain to focus on the priorities and not on the little ticky tacky things that are going to become obstacles for them. All of you will create this environment where you are getting those three things that you wanted in the very beginning, right? You are getting the ability to be more efficient and create more output because you're focused on what those primary goals are. You are able to share your knowledge by focusing them where you want to focus, and you are developing their skills around problem solving and developing the how they are going to get from point A to point B because you are so focused on what that output is for them. So, even more than the time, I want you to think about the clarity and the confidence that you are creating within yourself and within your team when you simply stop talking, focus on the main point, and ask questions to redirect people to that point. Now, I did a survey recently, and two-thirds of people said that they never have time to think about the big picture. Two-thirds of people said that they never give it a thought because they are always so focused in the weeds. Now, again, I want you to go back to the blog so that you can really understand like the granular time and how you're going to get that back. However, what it amounts to is about 2 solid days a month. Now, if you never got a chance to think about the big picture or relate the work that you're doing to the big picture, imagine for a second that you got 24 days a year where you got to put all of your focus and your energy into the big picture and how you and the team are working towards that end. What would that do for your career? What would that do for your ability to talk strategically with executives in your company? It would be revolutionary. Now, Taylor, on top of that, you're actually spending your meeting time now keeping people focused on that big picture. That is strategic thinking, my friend. If you want to be a part of this survey, if you want to understand what I'm talking about with that, I will put that link down below as well. And so that's all about how communication actually impacts your ability to delegate to the team and become the person who is a no brainer for that next promotion. So if you want to learn more about that, I will put that link down below as well. I want you to challenge yourself to transform your communication so that you are more clear, more confident, and your team starts to think like the leader that you are. And you do all of that by focusing on the main point, keeping your mouth shut as much as possible, and redirecting the team to what is most important for you. All right. I hope that this was helpful. Please share it far and wide. Let people know what we are doing over here so that they can get the benefits of this as well. And all of the links down below are resources for you that I want you to be able to take advantage of. I hope you have a wonderful day.